Donna, thank you for that. We're done. Donna, thank you for everything you do, and thank you for a wonderful introduction. And Kerry, thank you for your extraordinary eloquence, your passion, and your unbelievable commitment and ability that you bring to the task of carrying on your father's legacy. It's privilege. We all are in awe of it. And Ethel, it's an honor always to be here with you, with all of the supporters and friends of the Center's efforts through the years. It's really an honor for me to be able to share in the RFK Center's commitment to change the way that we treat each other here on Earth, and indeed to join in the Center's efforts to seek a newer world. I think it's fair to say that the Center's efforts, you just look at these flags surrounding us here and the names on them, and you understand the degree to which the Center's efforts not only kept Bobby's legacy alive, but they have kept the cause of human rights at the forefront of our politics, our policies, and our consciences. This room is the right place to gather and celebrate moral courage. It is now, as you all know, the Kennedy Caucus Room, named for three brothers, each of whom broke ground, took political risks, and advanced the cause of human rights. Embroiled as I am right now in the travails of the Super Committee, I am daily reminded how much we could use Teddy's legislative skill and vision today. And Robert Kennedy's leadership, eloquence, and passion exhibited throughout a career that was so obviously all too short, brings us together to recommit ourselves to the unfinished tasks of building that newer world, and also to celebrate the special courage of one man's example. The truth is that some of our greatest accomplishments and advances in expanding the cause of human rights have come not because of legislative decree or judicial fiat, but through the awesomely courageous acts of individuals who have stood up against evil because they believed in something bigger than their own comfort, bigger than their own safety, bigger even than their own lives. Today, the RFK Center honors another brave human being who, frankly, stood up for all of us. Frank Mugisha, as you heard in listening to Kerry's presentation to him of this award, has had to pay an extraordinary price for his courage. His colleague, David Cato, was brutally murdered. And as you learned from Kerry, Frank has lost jobs, friends, even the support of some family members. And for a time, he even lost his homeland. He's had to withstand hatred, vitriol, and small-minded fear that criminalizes people for their identity. And he's had to withstand it all because he dared to stand up and declare that he is a gay man, a gay Ugandan, a gay human being. Today, we celebrate this special man whose words and actions daily remind us that equality is not something that we can parse out to some and deny to others. The rights of gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, these are not something that can be doled out only in select circumstances. They are basic human rights, and human rights are universal, not negotiable. Frank has chosen to climb a particularly steep mountain. There are those in Uganda who are not satisfied merely with criminalizing homosexuality. They want to impose the death penalty. That abhorrent impulse represents the most extreme form of a far more pervasive kind of prejudice. It's a prejudice that is found not only in Uganda, but throughout Africa, around the world. It may shock you, but today, over 80 countries in the world criminalize homosexuality. If this gross prejudice is to stop, and it must, then we must stop it. People of good conscience have to take action. And we can do so with the same energy and the same focus that we use to fight all civil rights battles here and abroad, by standing up and refusing to cower in the face of hatred and oppression. Edmund Burke reminded us that all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. So the history of our moral advances on this planet is the story of good men and good women who understood that truth and who did something about it. Every name on these flags is the name of that kind of story. Here in our own country, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., John Lewis, who still serves with us, all understood that they needed to stand up and march and even potentially die in order to topple the status quo and topple injustice. And around the world, some of today's greatest advocates for change, from Nasrin Sotoudeh to Liu Xiaobo in China, they sit in prison today as we sit here, simply because they had the courage to stand up and fight for rule of law and for basic human rights, and to be able to express themselves. There are so many, my friends, whose names none of us will ever know. They're not going to receive prizes. Their courage goes unremarked, but is all the more remarkable because they put their lives on the line in the face of beatings, torture, imprisonment, and even death, in the near certainty that their sacrifice will be anonymous. Think about that. That's a kind of courage that is so powerful.